Welcome, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast in the history of podcasts. My name is Bryan Neal.
I'm Bill Caskey. Happy New Year, Bryan.
Here again for another year. 2024 is here. Remember, I was watching some video on TikTok of when the New Year's Eve of 2000 happened. You know, everyone thought the world was going to end.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And someone had put up a little video of the recording of that. I thought that was really, really interesting to think that the guy immediately panned over on the video. He's videoing Dick Clark, and he panned over to his computer to make sure it's still on. It's still working. Those are old school problems we have. In 2024, we don't have that. We're good. Well, no Y2K in 2024.
Remember that? I mean, you and I were working together then, weren't we?
100%.
Yeah. And just the panic. And then it was like, oh, nothing. It's like, man, it doesn't take much to get the public panic in a panic state, does it, today?
Recall that one of our pretty good clients, your client, who was in the IT space, built a bunker in Maine, fully staffed to survive the world ending. So didn't happen, did it? No, we're all
no, but it could have. So we were prepared. That's for sure. Okay, I have a quick story, and I want to know how you would handle this, because you're a family guy, and I know you're close to your family and extended families. And my wife's mother passed just before Christmas, and it was sudden, and it was very, very sad. But she was 87. It's not a but it was still a difficult time, even though she had some issues, heart issues, and so it was very sad. So, in an effort to help the family, I said, we're going to do a service here in a couple of weeks, and I said, let me take care of the music, of editing the music. We're going to have the 100 photos, and they're going to slide through, and then we'll pick the music, and I'll do that. I'm not going to pick the music, but I'll edit it.
Yeah.
So we got together a couple nights ago, and we talked about some songs, and they'd talked about them before. I had them all there, so we played them just to kind of think if they're okay. Is that a good song for a funeral, for a procession? So I had them all set. We had like 8 songs. We're going to use a minute and a half each to get to 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. I get back that night, and I had the whole thing put together, and I mixed them up so that way everybody could hear how it would sound. Sent them out. First response I get is, well, I don't like country music. It's like, what? We sat there in a room, and we knew that Tim McGraw was one and Brad Paisley was one. Nope, not a country music fan. Hate country music. My mom hated country. This is the children, by the way.
Yeah, right.
The siblings. Okay. Okay. And then the next thing I got was one of the people, I won't say who, because not that they listen, but
they could.
They could. Didn't like the song that another person, Peter Gabriel, didn't like the Peter Gabriel song, which I love Peter Gabriel.
Me too.
But, when you're doing these things, there's always the question of, well, who are we doing the music for?
Truth. It's
not for the deceased, although it would be nice if the deceased were a big music fan and loved, say, Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. I don't know why I picked that one, but from that era, and they love that genre of music, big band, maybe that's part of it.
See?
That's how I would look at it.
So I made when my dad passed away, I still have it on my Spotify. It says Dad's Funeral. And I still listen to it sometimes. And I chose it, with my siblings' help, but support. And it was all things that either my dad loved or that reminded us of our dad.
Yeah.
And it was the very first song is In the Mood by Glenn Miller. Because my dad loved Big Band.
He loved that song. He grew up in that era.
Theme songs to Cheers and to Johnny Carson Show, because he watched that show religiously. Mm-hmm. And then songs that reminded us of him, like Leader of the Band by Dan Fogelberg. Mm-hmm. It's a really good playlist, actually. I should send it to you.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
If you want to follow us on Spotify, go to Dad's Funeral. Dad's Funeral.
Could be another podcast episode. Right?
Dad's Funeral playlist.
Anyway, so
I'm in your camp, Bill, on this one.
I like the two filters: the filter of what did they like and what reminds us of them, and yeah.
My one, and I don't want to get into your family dynamics, but what's the alternative if we don't like country, we don't like this song? What do we like? Are we as a Bob Seger? What do we? Where are we going?
Well, everybody had a favorite song that reminded them, I think, of their mother.
Okay,
but the words didn't fit. Like some of them were about romantic relationships ending.
Yeah,
Gabriel. But So I think you have to be careful of the words too. The words need to refer to love and sorrow and sadness and all that. So anyway, to finish up the story, so I got the whole thing done. It's all done. Everybody's fine. And then I get 3 texts yesterday. Hey, how about this song? So it's not as easy as just pulling them apart, dropping it in. So we got a little Natalie Cole, and we got there was this other song that was really beautiful, and we are actually going to change it. But it's like, but here's the sales part of it. I did not handle the situation well because I didn't have any kind of an upfront understanding about how this was all going to work. What I should have done, and this is a lesson for all of us, is when you're asked to do something, we have to have some rules of the road, some guardrails, and say, look, here's the way this will work. We need to have it done by the 13th. In order to do that, we got to have it done. And here's what I will do. I will take one stab. I'll do it again. We'll do it again. And we'll come back, input. I'll do it again. And that'll be it. Everybody good with that? Yeah, everybody. But I didn't do that because I was wanting to serve. I felt like, well, that might be a little bit much. But when you're doing something like that, you have to have just the rules. What rules are we going to play by here? And I didn't do that. So that was my mistake.
That's good. That's good. Good reflection. No, I think it's really good reflection. And the other thing to keep in mind, sales is a little less charged than, maybe your parents' funeral, is that there's still emotion involved. And there's emotion involved. People lose a little bit of their, the left brain, the common sense, logic, things like that. And now you've gone from 80-minute, now you're in the 4-hour range on your playlist. So it's going to be a long funeral. Like, no one can leave yet. Why? Well, the playlist isn't over. I mean, we got to sit here until Bill's playlist ends. We made some additions. So we'll be here till about 6 tonight.
Well, the maximum number of photos is 100 based on their system, I guess. So we're either going to have to expand it to 5 seconds each or reduce it to like 1/3 of a second. Depends on how long.
Stretch. That TV movement stretch.
Okay, let's enough personal stories. Let's get to it.
And sorry to hear about your
thank you. Thank you. It was very sad. She was a wonderful lady and a lot of energy. And,
yes.
So I was listening the other day to end of year podcast. Here we are starting 2024, and we're excited about it. I think it's going to be a good year. It's going to be a crazy year with the election and all the political stuff and wars and everything. But all we can pay attention to is what we can control and influence. And one of the things that I am doing this year, I've done it in the past, but probably not religiously, is find a word that I can live by for 30 to 60 to 90 days. It may not be a word for the year, but a word for a period of time up front that I can start to think, okay, I'm going to filter what I do through this word. And if this word can help me make decisions, it's going to be a better year. It's going to be a better. So I thought that would be a decent topic today to talk about.
I'm in. And most people, I would say, when they choose a word, pick a word of the year. Is that fair? Like some people even get tattoos. I'm not, proposing that you and I go get tattoos for our words from today's episode. However, but we also talked about in the pre-show prep, what's the length of time? You can do, so we're picking, I think, quarters here. We're going to do word of the quarter.
Let's do quarters.
Good on that. Word of the quarter. This is our word of the quarter. Gives us a little space to change it Q2 or keep it rolling, however we feel that way. I love that. That's actually a little lesson. A lot of people do word of the year. I think they should consider shortening that up a little bit.
Yeah, because I think by the time you get to July and you ask the person, what was your word for the year?
They either look at their tattoo, like, oh, look at their wrist, or
on my back. Can you look?
Exactly. Yeah. It's right. It's under my left shoulder blade.
Be careful.
See it? It's right above the Disney Mickey Mouse symbol and below the dragon. That's my word of the year. Funny because it's true.
Okay, so let's talk about how to pick the word, and then we'll reveal our words.
Yes,
as if the audience is standing by with bated breath. How do you select a word?
So I go. That's a great question. So I first thought I've got 2 big broad categories. There are, and this is a big word itself, but like there's the etheric category or the spiritual emotional category. Then there's the tactical category. And try to think of things in both of those. And I know I have several of those things swirling around on both. And then decide which side of the fence of that I want to get on first. Like, do I want to start the year with more of a spiritual, ethereal, philosophical thing, or do I want to get a little more tactical? I just went tactical for me just because of where I'm at. But that's not right or wrong. But that was my first filtering point, was a tactical over a philosophical. Not that I won't change it. Q2, we'll see. But that was
you could do the spiritual component on Q2. And
totally.
That's the whole idea. Or if you want to do it by the month, I think you can do that too, because 30 days is enough time that it will give you some access. My filter was more business, but personal. My is what do I need to be thinking of every day as I get up out of bed and I go work out and I stop for my Go Juice, which I'm referring to my Starbucks as. I down that, and by 7:30, I'm ready to go. What's the word that's going to fuel me and going to help me make the decisions I need to make throughout that day so that I can achieve my goals and be more meaningful and impact. And I have some goals. I'm not a huge 17 goals setter kind of guy, but I've got a couple
that
revolve around income. So that's how I look at it, is what is the word that's going to help me filter what I'm doing and just be in the back of my mind, be alongside me the whole time.
Time for the reveal.
Okay. Yeah.
Shall we?
You want to go first or me to?
I'll go first.
Okay.
So I went tactical, which is funny. You do this big word, big reveal, and it sounds like a boring word. But my word of the first quarter is process. And it has to do both where we're coming at this whole sales programming and coaching and content is all built around process, operating system stuff. And you just said it, Bill, where so many things fail is in systematic process. The creation of your mother-in-law's playlist failed at some point because of a lack of process. And there's one thing to have one, step one. Step two is to follow it. And so I'm going to try to work my tail off to be very disciplined. Like, what's the process here? What's the systematic way to do this?
Yeah, that's good.
To give me the best chance of success.
It's so good. And what makes it even better is that most companies don't have it. They don't have it. And because I think most of us are not, we have to school ourselves on how to be process minded.
Totally.
It's not natural. If it's not for me, and I know you, it's probably not, but we have to get to the point where, oh no, this is natural because we've worked at it. We've
absolutely
skilled up in it.
Yes. Process.
Yeah. I did a LinkedIn Live today, and I was talking about how to get to the top level person or how to get to a decision maker, because that's a question we get a lot, or we see, you're not talking to the right person. Well, how do I get there? Well, go in and do this move and say this and don't do that. And I feel like there's got to be a process for that. If you find yourself not talking to all of the decision makers or the people that you really need to talk to, what's the process? If you get in at a too low a level, what's the process?
Is it just one?
You got to have one.
Takes all the pressure off.
Yeah. And it's not like some kind of $1 million thing. It could be something very simple, but you have to think about it in terms of scaling and repeatability, which process does. All right.
100%.
So mine is, I'm a little older than you.
Just a little.
Just a little. But I'm trying to keep my mojo and keep my ambition level high. And I feel good about next year, and I feel good about my ambition level. But one of the things that I feel like I've really been lousy at is leveraging. Leverage is my word for the quarter. And when I say leverage, I don't mean financial leverage. I mean, how do you take things that you're good at or already doing and figure out a way to make them more meaningful, more widespread, distribute them? So like one of the things we talked about for our podcast here before the end of the year is we talked about, how do we leverage this?
Yeah.
How do we take the content that we're doing and put it up on LinkedIn and promote the podcast? And you take your stuff, I take mine. That's the whole idea of doing it together, is we get good content from each other. How do we leverage this? And so that's my word for the quarter, is everything that I do, I've got to look through the eyes of, okay, I'm going to do this once. Is there a leverage factor to this?
It's fantastic, especially when and I love that you said, what's my word that gets me going after your Go Juice? Is that your grandkid's name for the coffee? Or
no.
Yours? I like it. The Go Juice, you get that. And what's that thing? So what you're doing then, the thing I love about this whole concept of the word of the quarter is that if it becomes your first filter point in all things.
Yeah.
So in your case, you say, hey, we just recorded this awesome podcast episode. The first thing you don't think, well, that's good. Okay. Well, see you in a couple weeks. and we're done, you instantly think, how can I leverage what we just did? Can I take the audio file, send it to someone? Can I use that can I use that in my process to call to a higher level in a company? Right.
Absolutely.
It's like everything goes into the next highest best use, which I really, really love that as a first filter point. That just takes discipline to do. That's great. How do I leverage this?
So the final conclusion here is find a word that epitomizes the kind of person you want to become. Bryan wants to become more conscious of process. I want to become more conscious of leverage. What's the consciousness factor, the mindfulness factor? And then put it on your phone, put it up on a wall, find a way to visibly demonstrate and proclaim it so that you don't forget. I don't care if the world doesn't need to know this. You're not going into your next cocktail hour and saying, hey, if I told you guys my word for the day, no, gather, come on. It's only for you, but that's the most important person in the world right now is you.
100%. And if you dwell on this thing, especially for that first month and you carry it through the quarter, it'll become habitual for you and you watch what happens. It's a really, really great, really good thing for all of us salespeople to do.
Yeah. Good. All right. Make sure you check out the Insider. Go to advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. We're actually going to be talking a little bit about leverage this on the 12th, which I think is Friday coming up. And so if you've not joined already, make sure you go check it out. I'll see you next time.
Bye.